She has one of the most recognisable voices in the business.
You have email.
Sometimes I wonder if you let money get the best of you, my love.
Have you eaten something?
No, not since 1973.
And she's lent that voice to many causes over the years, not shying away from being a bit political when needed. I'm talking, of course, about acting and British legend and all-round national treasure, Joanna Lumley. She's putting her weight behind a new campaign about the impact on wildlife of new offshore wind farms. So I dialed her up by Zoom to find out more. And before we spoke, I reminded her of some of her political activism from the past.
I will take all your names to Downing Street to demand a fundamental rewrite of this law. Don't let us down. Ayo Gorkali!
Ayo Gorkali. This was the Gurkha Justice Campaign. Because Gurkha soldiers who've served our country so well for 200 years, so bravely and so finely, along with many other Commonwealth troops, were always sent back to Nepal the second their tour of duty finished after 15 or 20 years' service. They were immediately deported like criminals. Whereas Commonwealth troops are allowed to stay, remain and reside, have their children educated here because of the duty that they've shown to the Crown. The Gurkhas were different because Nepal does not belong to the Commonwealth. And so this terrible sort of anomaly crept in and successive governments kicked it into the grass. And a very brave man called Peter Carroll, who was in fact a councillor in Folkestone Council, took up the cause. And then with 3 human rights lawyers, the 5 of us set off on this campaign. We eventually got the backing of the whole country and lots of politicians of every colour and hue. And we were triumphant, which was great. And we got the justice for the Gurkhas that we asked for. But I remember that so much. I will take all your names. I was forever shouting like that and then ending up, Ayo Gorkali.
That was on the steps of the High Court, I think, from memory, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
And it was basically a row about immigration. And there's a row actually developing about Fiji members of the armed forces who also can't get rights to live here after they finish serving. So it hasn't gone away, this issue.
No, it hasn't. I think it's something to do with, is it just being an island race? It gets harder and harder. I mean, trying to get those Afghan translators, interpreters who are so unbelievably brave alongside our troops all during the Afghan war. Can we give them any place here? I mean, there are 200 or 300 of them. No, say the Foreign Office. No, they must not be allowed here. There's something pretty sinister on this, particularly as our country, as we know, Chris, is built on immigrants.
It seems to me that your campaigning is against this computer says no culture. We saw it with the Windrush scandal. Clearly it was wrong and it was corrected when politicians became aware of it. And what you're able to do is to find these wrongs and with your profile, bring them to the attention of politicians in a way that the people can't do themselves. You're bashing against the system in that way, aren't you?
Very much bashing against the system. And the thing about campaigning is that it's very seldom done swiftly. I mean, campaigning for Tibet to become an autonomous region, that's been going on forever and ever. I've got a photograph in the kitchen of me 35, 40 years ago with the Dalai Lama standing outside Parliament saying for 50 years Tibet has been overrun and the world has remained silent. And now the same thing is happening to the Uyghur community. And look what's happening to them. And now the world is creaking awake and going, something must be done. I think, Chris, what I hate most of all is people going, something must be done, which is quite often a parliamentary or a legal response, which is lessons will be learned. In subjunctive, I think that's wrong. It isn't the subjunctive, but whatever it is. Anyway, take the blame away and people go, something must be done. Clearly, I won't do it, but let's look around having nodded.
Yes.
Instead of, I'll see to that. I'll take that on my shoulders and I'll do that. So I think there's a particular kind of creeping wetness, lots and lots of titles, lots of gold epaulettes, as it were, and
Yes.
much action. And I like Elvis Presley, I like quite a lot of action.
You want to do something and make it happen.
Yeah, I do. Somebody said something quite odd the other day where they passed on some sort of tweet. I don't do social media, so I didn't know it. And they said, how can Joanna Lumley be caring about all these things when we've got coronavirus? Who does she think she is worrying about animals or something? As if you can only have one care or thought in your life at a time.
Yes. And of course, during lockdown, we have lots of thoughts, don't we? What lessons did you learn from your Gurkha campaign? I mean, it was successful, wasn't it? You work with 60 charities, don't you? A lot of charities. So you do a lot of campaigning work.
Well, a lot of charity work isn't actually campaigning. Quite often it's just saying, please do give us money. We've got this ongoing event or whatever it is. It might be some progress, investigation or something. Can you help us follow it through? And people usually know about it. I mean, whether it's environmental or to do with cancer research or whatever, people usually know those things. They go, yeah, I can give you. So it's not really a campaign so much. Campaigns are something different, which is to change the minds of those in control, those in power, so that they do things differently. That's what the Gurkha Justice Campaign was. And that's what this Stop Sea Blasts campaign is.
Yeah, I was going to come on to that. What is this campaign about sea blasts?
It's a kind of exciting and interesting story. Wind farms, offshore wind farms, are massive. For the green economy, for the green future, they're huge. They don't damage the countryside like all these onshore wind farms do. They're offshore. They're miles out to sea. They have wind. The turbines are turning all the time. To put their great stems down onto the seabed has to be cleared and flattened. Now, all across the North Sea and in the Irish Sea as well, it's littered with 100,000 tons unexploded bombs from the Second World War and the First World War. Either they were ditched or they fell and didn't explode. And so they have to be detonated before the great stems, the props and masts can be put up. At the moment, the current use is to use high explosives, which means you literally go boom, you set them off like bang, like we saw in, where was it, Exeter the other day.
Yes, on the beach.
Massive explosion, which knocked windows out of everything. That's called high explosive. That's what they usually do. Gets rid of the bomb. It spreads shards of that bomb all over the place with its toxic chemicals and so on. It wrecks the seabed. It kills millions of fish and sea life. And also, it deafens whales and dolphins who live entirely on their auditory systems, the way they speak, communicate to each other, the way that they find each other, find food, have companions, pods, mate, is entirely based on this. Once you've damaged their system, they float, they go out to sea, they die, they starve of hunger, they can't. And it seems extraordinary only because of this exactly parallel system, which gets rid of the bomb, defuses the bomb, which is 100 times quieter, costs exactly the same, has been used by navies all across the world, including our Royal Navy. It's a little cone which is fired into the bomb and it burns the bomb out from the inside. It's called deflagration. Conflagration is set something alight. Deflagration is to suck the fire out of it, suck the bomb out of it. And everybody knows about this. DEFRA knows about it. The big offshore wind companies know about it. The government knows about it. And everybody's making very encouraging sounds. But Chris, it's the answer. Something must be done. You go, no, but you know how to do it. You simply use this stuff. We make these little pellets in England. We're actually world leaders. It's been used and tested. So DEFRA, don't say we need to test it more. It's been tested. It's in use at the moment. So it doesn't need more testing. It costs the same. So, oh, great wind power merchants, don't say, well, because it can be done. Please do it. That's all. Please do it. It's a win-win situation.
So it's not a cost issue. That's not a cost issue.
And it's readily available. So there's no real reason for it except that. And this is another quite often thing. We always used to do it this way. So why should we change? We can't see why we should change. Well, maybe they can't see, but I think the whales and the dolphins, they could see why there should be changed the way that they get rid of bombs.
Are there corpses of marine life washing up on the shore caused by these explosions?
Well, quite a nest. There were huge explosions, and then some of the whales were washed up, and dolphins were washed up. Their auditory systems damaged. I think that was in about 2011. But they found that a lot of animals which are beaching, and everybody goes, "Why are they doing this? They're so clever and so sensitive." Is that their hearing has been damaged. There's no need for it. This is the thing. You can't say, well, we've got to have wind power, so I'm afraid there's got to be some collateral damage. There's no need for this damage.
It seems like a lack of imagination more than anything else.
Yes, it is. And a lack of motivation. And I think there's a lot of, for some reason, this pandemic has created a weird, I mean, it's completely understandable, a sort of lassitude, a feeling of utter helplessness. Part of that is that people think, oh, this will never change. Of course it's going to change. It's changing all the time. It's getting better all the time. And this one will fizzle out and burn out and become something that our human life can manage.
Have you contacted Carrie Simons, who, of course, is the PM's fiancée and is driving forward a green agenda by all accounts in government?
Well, I have actually written to the Prime Minister and to Carrie Simons. Sadly, I haven't heard back. It isn't even acknowledged yet. So I do hope they see it, because she's a great leader in the green world and changing things and powering things through. But a lot of things are said, and then it seems, Chris, as though they've ticked the box. They go, well, we've talked about it. And so it somehow seems to have been dealt with. It's not enough. It's got to be done. It's got to be done and be seen to be done.
Yeah, action, not words. And what do you think of politicians generally? Do you think in a sense they're like actors? They repeat party lines. Some are method actors maybe, and some aren't, you know?
How interesting. I didn't think of them as that. But I think that we always know who they are. Those ones who come onto political programs and speak slightly louder when the interviewer tries to stop or adjust it. They just mow on over it with whatever the thing is that they're going to say. I'm bored with that, because I think the world can see through that. I like people who listen and have an answer. And sometimes they're allowed to say, I don't know. I simply don't know. I think that's why the Prime Minister was so popular early on. I don't know if he's so popular now. But he used to say, I simply have no idea, or let's try that, or I'm so sorry, or no, please go ahead, he would say to the interviewer, please go ahead. And I think that there's something human about that, which this just trotting out party lines is boring to hear.
People want authenticity, don't they?
We all know they're people. They're only people. They're only the same as us. We've elected them to represent us. They're not something different.
No, quite.
They should just have energy. I think there's a kind of lack of energy. You go, why, for instance, with our Stop Sea Blast campaign, can't people say, let's get this done tomorrow? It's nothing. It's the scribble of a pen. Let's go to all these hugely important people who are putting up the wind farms and say, can you do this for us? Can you get it done have it all implemented by the end of the year? Why not? Can we get it done? Good for you. Tick. Huge. Success story. Claps all around. Everybody gets titles.
Motherhood. It's a seriously full-on job. Late nights, early mornings, a difficult client. Hi, I'm Claire Newell. I'm the investigations editor at The Telegraph. I've spent my career flying around the world investigating corruption. Last year, my latest adventure was having our baby boy. And as I started to emerge from all the sleep deprivation, I started to question, was I going to be able to continue my career while looking after our boy? To find out, I made a podcast called The Juggling Act. I'll be interviewing politicians, chief execs, celebs, to ask them how having a baby has affected their careers, their relationships, and their lives. Yes? Mama. To find the show, search for The Juggling Act from wherever you normally find your podcasts and click subscribe.
Who's impressed you most in the world of politics? Because it seems like an unequal battle when you go into combat with them. You win normally.
No, I don't. And I don't go into battle with them. I've only ever been there.
Think of the Gurkhas,
I know. But remember, I was propped up by human rights lawyers and Peter Carroll, and they were there. So it wasn't as though it was a sort of one-woman campaign against politicians. And I was accused of hubris. How dare you, a woman and an actress, have opinions and ideas or back up people? Don't you think this has been thought of by politicians? So I'm not combative. I don't fight people. What I love to do is to say, do you know, you can do this differently because you can. It can be done differently and there will be no harm done. It'll be a win-win situation. So let's just urge people. I urge the MPs and things. I want to gather some MPs. We've got about 35 MPs on our side already about the Sea Blast campaign. So that there's a lot of willing there. It's just getting it forward. We want questions. We want to debate about it. We want it activated.
Are you getting more impatient as you get older, do you think?
Yes, hugely.
You can't waste time.
My chains. I can't wait to get out and can't wait to see the proper disposal of plastic. That's another great obsession of mine. I can't believe we're sitting here when we've got this system of burning plastic and creating fuel and so on, which is being used in Germany, being used in Singapore, being used all around. And we know about it. We don't do it. We go, well. And you go, no, we've got plastic stacking up everywhere. Can't we do it now? Well. So there's that sad well that drives me mad.
Yeah. Do you find it exhausting, though? Because in your position, you probably have a lot of people coming to you for help with ideas and thoughts. Yeah. And there's only you and the day is limited. You're on your own. You don't want to expend your capital too much and spread yourself too thinly, I suppose.
Well, I'm already spread far too thinly, and people accuse me. They go, how can you be interested in all these things? Well, it's very easy. If you've got a curious mind, you're interested in a million things. Secondly, if your head is above the parapet, people come to you and bring you things you'd never heard of, and bring you campaigns or sorrows or pieces of legislation that they want you to back or whatever it might be. They come to you because your head is sticking up and you've dyed your hair yellow. But because you're noticeable, that's why.
Yeah.
And so I get to hear about a lot of things, which is why I'm interested in a lot of things. And I think that we've got to do all kinds of things, sometimes at some cost to ourselves. For instance, cutting down on meat. People go, no, but I love my meat. I'm not going to cut down on meat. Let somebody, I can't do it. It's a short life. What are they there for? And all this sort of rubbish goes on. The truth is we've proved that the world is going to hell in a handcart unless we all do something about it. One of the greatest things we could do is to cut down on eating so much meat. I've been a vegetarian for 45 years. I don't eat meat or fish, and I'm fine. People say you need it. You don't need it. You don't need it. So I'm just saying to people, I'm not saying give it up because they won't, but cut down, because we know that the world is being destroyed by having to feed so much of our planet's output through animals to make protein for humans to eat.
And you take these stances without giving away any of your own politics, don't you? Because I don't know how you vote. You don't have to tell me that. And you never told anybody. I mean, you should be against authority, whichever party it is, when you need to be.
I think, Chris, the thing is that all politicians seem to go into it for good. I don't know a single one who's gone in like Attila the Hun who wants to kill and destroy. They all try to do good things. So in every party, there's somebody saying something interesting. That's why I hate party lines, party politics. I love politics, but not party politics.
Yeah.
I'd like to see many, many, many more independents, actually.
Has there been a cost, do you think, to you on this? I mean, have you lost any parts in acting from your position? I can't think what they would be.
I'm not. I also vote differently. I look at who's saying what and where they are.
Yes.
But I've never said how I vote, because I think one of the things you mustn't do is that if people do like you, they might go, oh, we'll do what so-and-so does. And I think politics is something you've really got to go to your own heart.
Yes.
You've got to think hard about things yourself.
You're a national treasure, Joanna Lumley, if I can say that.
So are you, Christopher Hope?
We're talking by Zoom, not in the pub where I normally meet guests for this podcast. How have you been spending lockdown?
Working all through. We had done 3 episodes of Finding Alice when lockdown came. So we had to then record the last 3 episodes during lockdown later on in the year. I'd been supposed to be doing a big journey across the world for a travel program. And so this time we did 3 programs around the British Isles.
Oh, they were wonderful.
Always pleasure.
I mean, I'm sure you've heard a lot of good feedback from that. People like seeing the country we live in through different eyes. I think it was good.
Fabulous. It was fantastic and very well received. So I love that. I did 7 radio plays. I did commentaries on 12 films. I did reading of books, reading poems, appeared live in things, appeared on live programs, acted in plays which were done on semi-video, podcasts, all kinds of things like this. So I've actually been working hard all the way through.
Yes. And you've been jabbed?
I have, yes. I've got another one coming in April.
Yes. And your advice is do it.
Yes, of course. Also, slightly selfishly, I think that we're going to have to, just as when you go to Uganda, you're not let into the country unless you can show your yellow fever passport.
Yep.
Saying that you've been jabbed at that time. So I've got all of them up to date on all my things. I carry my vaccination program with me all around the world with hepatitis and rabies and all the things written on it. Why not just add this COVID jab on it? And then people in the countries where you're going feel happy about you. People you're with feel, I actually wouldn't mind having papers, they're going, may I see your papers? Of course, I wouldn't mind going, of course. They've got everything else about us, so why should we care?
Even in the UK, there's some nervousness in the government about showing papers to have access to jobs or places.
They've got that already. Somebody can hunt you down and say, you did this, you did that. They know this anyway. They've got all our medical records. They've got where we are. And if you always do that thing, which I never do, when you've come out of voting and say how you voted, they know how you vote. In your big supermarkets, they know what you eat. I was the second highest chicory eater in our
chicory eater. And the theatres should be opening soon. I mean, it's been a challenge. I mean, your whole game is meeting people, acting, performing, breathing on other people. That's what actors do. I mean,
singers, because my husband's a doctor. They've had it much worse than we have. We at least have been able to do radio plays and things like this. But you can't make an orchestra play together if they're not allowed to sit together. So you get a tiny band of 6 or something playing music which should have 65 people. So that's been terribly difficult. And audiences in a theatre, I love Andrew Lloyd Webber for saying, I'm going to jam them in. Because the truth is that if you sit in a house that's half full or a third full, it already feels like a flop. If you go to a play at the West End in the old days, or if you're acting in a play and you look out and you go, oh my God, the house is only half full, it means you're on the skids, you're going downhill.
Yes.
So trying to pretend that a play is great with lots and lots of people covered in masks and sitting miles apart, it's bad. And also, how do you act on stage? How do you fall into his arms and kiss him, say, Rodney, don't leave me. You can't do that.
No. You're following all the dramas with Megxit, are you? Oh dear.
Not really.
Sad.
I find that all ghastly, actually. I don't watch The Crown. I find it all ghastly, you know.
Would you be in The Crown?
No, I didn't watch it or see it or do it. There's nothing to do with Christmas. Lots of people love it. And lots of people apparently know that it's mostly made up. But I think lots of people don't know it's made up. And I think that's awful. I put myself always in the shoes of the people, in this case, the royal family, where people imagine how you speak to your husband.
I know.
People imagined how Stevie and I talk to each other and tried to write dialogue. It makes me feel faint after.
But there should be a disclaimer, shouldn't there? This is based on an imagination of some true events or something similar on these.
Well, some people say, oh, everybody knows it's made up. They don't. People think it's the truth. I couldn't watch it because I feel if you don't agree with something, don't watch it and go, ooh, I hate that. Just don't watch it. So that's all. I just don't watch it.
Well, you're a big fan of TV. Do you watch lots of other TV?
Masses. Last night we watched 3 episodes of The Terror, and somewhere I'm trying to find for Stephen the book I've got, which was called Erebus, which is the story of this hunting for the Northwest Passage. We've watched masses of things like Call My Agent and Breaking Bad, which we didn't know about. We've watched stuff called Subura, which is one of the best Italian series you will ever see. Spiral from the French. We watch all those things in lockdown. We never did, but we do now.
No. And you're spending more time together, as all families are, which is fantastic.
I know, I love it. And
do you follow political programs?
We watch news, followed by local news, followed by Newsnight, followed by Channel 4.
So you're engaged.
This is Stevie. I go,
Yes.
No, all it is bloody pandemic. I've had enough of the pandemic now. I don't want to hear any more numbers, as if the only people who are dying in this country are dying from the disease.
Well, that's a debate, isn't it, from the damage caused by the pandemic and the fact that we're overemphasizing the pandemic and disregarding other illnesses.
Unless at the end of every newscast in the future, they say, today X amount of people died and today X amount of people were born. Unless they make that clear and just have it as like a weather report at the end, as if we care. We just go, stop telling us this. Stop it. It's heartbreaking, you know?
It's heartbreaking. Now, Joanna, I have a producer called Louisa Wells, who's a huge fan of Absolutely Fabulous, which you did, of course, back in the day. You've made films about it with Jennifer Saunders. It's fantastic. She's arranged some questions.
Okay.
The game is called Patsy or Politician. Now, I'm going to read you some quotes.
Yes.
And you have to tell me whether your character said it in ab fab or a politician might have said it. And you've probably forgotten all the lines. So here's the value to this. Yes. Okay. So who said this? What is the difference between a painting done by a person who wished to paint like a child and a child painting?
I think that's a politician.
That was Patsy.
Was it?
Yes. Who said, I'm as fit as a butcher's dog. Do you want me to do some press ups to show you how fit I am?
Sounds like Gorbachev. I mean, it sounds like Putin. I don't know who it is. Boris, I don't know who it is.
Boris Johnson, that's right. In a Mail on Sunday interview, I think it was, shortly after leaving hospital. Who said, I've never seen a thin person drinking Diet Coke?
I think that was Patsy.
That was actually Donald Trump on Twitter.
Oh, that's quite a good remark, Donald.
Who said, whatever I choose is cool because I am cool?
Oh, I'd love that to be Patsy, but I don't know if she did say that. Was it her?
It was Patsy. You got that one right. Who said, did the Honourable Lady just call me scum?
I don't know who said that. Who was called scum by an Honourable Lady?
It wasn't.
God,
it wasn't Patsy. It was a politician.
Yes, it was.
Christopher Clarkson, the Tory MP for Hayward, after Labour's Angela Rayner used the word in his direction during a Commons debate on COVID.
Oh.
Who said, the worst 8 hours of my life?
That's Patsy.
On when she stopped drinking.
8 hours, I think, didn't she?
Yes. And finally, who said, IKEA? I've never been to IKEA.
That's not Patsy. I don't know who it is. It'll be a politician.
Yes, it was Jacob Rees-Mogg, perhaps. No surprise. Look, Joanna Lumley, it's been great to have you on this podcast, and it's great to have you on talking about politics, which is a big part of your life and how you want to change the world for the better. And let's see if Carrie Symonds or Boris Johnson might be tuning in.
It would be so lovely because they're such good people, and I trust them. And it's just sad to be left slightly in the dark.
Joanna Lumley, thanks again for joining us this week on Choppers Politics. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
What an interesting chat there with Joanna Lumley. I was struck by how she's been able to use her celebrity to find ways into government and try and change things for the better in this country. A different way, but an important way of doing politics. If you want to add to some of the discussion started by Joanna Lumley, please do get in touch. Email us, chopperspolitics@telegraph.co.uk, or tweet us, we're at Choppers Podcast. If you've enjoyed this show, please do leave us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other people find us. Thank you to my producers, Louisa Wells, Elliot Lampitt, and Theo Luludis. And most importantly of all, thank you to you for listening. We really do appreciate it. We can't make podcasts like this one without our wonderful Telegraph subscribers. If you're not one already, why not go to telegraph.co.uk/chopper, where you can get your first month completely free of charge. We're running a short survey at the moment to find out what you like about these podcasts and maybe how we can improve them. Please fill in the survey at the link in the show notes to this episode. It will take you less than 5 minutes to complete, and at the end, you can enter a prize draw to win one of 3 £100 John Lewis gift vouchers. And of course, please, if you can, buy a copy of the Daily Telegraph. You won't regret it. Until next time, though.
Cheerio, Choppers podcast listeners.